common thread is that you always need to understand who your audience is and bring them somehow closer to the product. So, this is something that we actually, we won a Webby for, so thank you. Thank you, I should say. The idea is that we wanted to bring people closer to the actual series of the Conchords. And one of the great things about the show is that these guys are inherently approachable, right? Because they're not very successful in the show, so they have that in common with a lot of their fans. That's a joke too. So the idea here is to let people kind of show their passion for the show, and show the passion for these guys, and show the passion for their music. So one of the things that we did was we allowed people to actually do what's called a lip dub, which is really just a lip sync, but it's been made really popular, where we allow people to literally, using the YouTube API or using the YouTube platform, upload themselves lip syncing to this one song, Hip Hopopotamus vs. Rhinoceros, from the show. That website that you saw was really just, it was the YouTube website with a skin over it, which is one of the beautiful things about technology, is that because everything is so connected, really sometimes the best things happen when you just plug some things into one another. So we had hundreds and hundreds of submissions for this, and we edited together the best of the bunch. And you saw actually one of the stars of the show, Kristen Wiig, she introduced it. But we edited this together. We got actually some of the people that were responsible for making the concept of Lift Up famous, like guys from College Humor. We had folks from Funny or Die who were also fans of the show. A lot of them being professional comics, like Andy Dick, very successful comics. Submit their own versions of this, and then we basically spread the word. Spread it out through blogs, spread it out through certainly the Facebook fan page, which I think at last count has almost 600,000 fans, all which is grown organically, mind you. And then we put it out there, and then we actually premiered the mega mix version of everything with everyone edited together after the last episode of the show. So we definitely got people to show their passion for it, but then gave them a platform. It gave them distribution for their own content. Another way in which we've learned to, I guess, embrace the audience and embrace content's biggest fans was through work that we did for Mad Men. And we handle all the online marketing for Mad Men, everything from planning and buying media.
Music here, that's so great.
Yeah, everything from planning and buying the advertising around this to online PR. But I mean, I would say the most successful thing was this experience that we created. It's called Mad Men Yourself. All the artwork in here was actually created by an illustrator who's a fan of the show. So this woman, her pen name is Dynamo. She's an actress in the Upright Citizens Brigade, but again, her day job is an illustrator. She created every week another scene from the show in early 1960s style ad illustration. And so what we did is we found out that certainly she was getting very popular amongst fans of the show. She had tens of thousands of visits to her blog every week, all talking about the previous episode, all geared around the artwork that she created. So we actually hired her, a fan, to illustrate all of the content in this site. So again, if you've owned a Wii or an Xbox or have ever elfed yourself, the idea is to basically create a representation of yourself. And people love the ability to personalize something that somehow, just like in Second Life, looks exactly like them. And so we did that here.
And Ian, how did people share this? Was there kind of a way to sort of share it on Facebook or Twitter?
Yeah.
Or?
So this is where the big difference happened. So previously, anytime you made some kind of representation of yourself, you pretty much had two options. One was to download it as desktop wallpaper, which is pretty insular, like you see it, and maybe someone walking by your cube sees it. The other thing that you might do is email it to somebody else. Pretty analog, by digital standards, ways of doing things. So one of the great things that we did here is that, of course, we knew that the audience for Mad Men was people that like to talk, namely advertising professionals, PR professionals, journalists, people that like to discover the next great television content. So what we allowed people to do was export the representations of themselves that they created here directly as their Twitter icons or their Facebook photos. So every time that they created content on those platforms, this representation of themselves was attached literally along to the left side of that content. So on average, we knew that people on Facebook in general have about 130 friends, and on Twitter have generally about the same. The audience for Mad Men, multiply that by 10. So we knew that we could certainly get the word out faster about this show, not just in the echo chamber of the fans of the series, which in the second season peaked at around 2 million viewers, but we knew that if we could tap into their connectedness and their influence, we could grow that audience. It grew to about 3.3 million people. This experience was completely organically was at the center of the Entertainment Weekly Bullseye the week after it was launched. Within the first 3 weeks, we had 1 million unique visits to the site, 600,000 avatars created, again, first 3 weeks. It wound up on Oprah. I mean, all of these things happened organically, primarily because we knew who the audience was. So.
And so the question I think some people in the audience probably want to know is like, so AMC here is your client. I forget who their parent company is, some giant media conglomerate. IMC?
Cablevision.
Cablevision. You're saying conglomerate. But so how much, ballpark, this seems like it's hundreds of thousands of dollars probably to create?
I can assure you it was not.
Really? Not?
Should have been.
You gave them a deal.
Yeah. This was, this is a labor of love that I would say that anybody with, Flash development skills, can create on their own. Just had the lots of people on it, and getting it done very quickly, obviously. But, this kind of thing, it's beautiful work, but it can be done in a much, smaller capacity, and maybe not necessarily the same results. It's Mad Men. It's they get to host Saturday Night Live. But the fact of the matter is, again, the biggest audience it had was smaller than the audience that, Conan O'Brien would have on an NBC, right? So eventually getting it bigger than that, was a challenge, and kind of doing it this way and somewhat organically was, really doing a lot on a very small budget.
Well, I wish you had time to also show